Doom and gloom, that's all you're going to hear if you listen to the news at the minute, and I want to talk to you about where we're at right now and what to do in these type of conditions. Watch on. As a business accountant, my team and I spend all day long helping business owners on their journey. And during tough times like we are potentially in right now in the UK small business market, journey is the key word. So in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit, slightly off topic because it's not super instructional around tax tips and all the rest of it, but it is talking about one of the big things, and that's getting some clarity in your business and some practical tips of what you can do now to kind of manage the tough times that we might be seeing ahead. So before we get into it, if you like these type of videos, make sure to click the bell and the subscribe button below so you get notified whenever we release more videos just like this one. So if you've turned on the news, you've read a paper, anything like that, all you've been bombarded with at the moment is the doom and gloom. You know, there's rising inflation. We're adding to it because we're like, yep, tax rises are coming up, national minimum wage rises. So if you've got a team and you're paying them at those levels, they're all going up. Even if you're not paying them at those levels, some people might feel they're due one. You obviously want to help them live their life because we've got a cost of living problem at the moment where the utilities, particularly fuel and the rest of it, have come up. So all these financial sort of storm that's coming off the back of, you know, a couple of years for a lot of people of hard financial times. Now, I think actually in the small business world, what we saw is it wasn't anywhere near as bad during COVID. And I think that's because a lot of cash was available. You know, you could get bounce back loans, you could get grants. And there is going to be a ton of people screaming at the camera now saying, no, I got nothing. And I'm completely have a lot of sympathy for that. If you're in the wrong situation, you got next to nothing. But the reality of the markets are that it did for most businesses outside of, for at least what we were seeing, outside of like hospitality, leisure, things connected with those kind of industries where they're absolutely slammed, a lot of businesses actually ended up in a very nice place. Now though, as a result, we've ended up with quite a bit of inflation and it's quite tough. And what tends to happen, so my experience of doing this, I'm 16 years of doing this, you know, I've been a business owner myself across a few different industries since 18. I've been doing this accountancy lark for a good just over 15 years now. What I have seen, and that's covering the financial crisis as well, and then COVID and things like that is and it does feel almost cyclical. You know, we get to this point where it's like good times, bad times, good times, bad times. It just, there's a gap between each of them. Is that what tends to happen is business owners panic. And I use the hedgehog analogy here. You know, when a hedgehog hibernates, it kind of rolls up, conserves what it has, just enough to kind of get through that winter, and then it comes back out. And businesses can seem to do that as well. You know, they look at it and say, absolutely, right, first thing I'm gonna do, panic, panic, panic. And I remember talking to this with owners in COVID saying, don't do this. What they do is cancel all the marketing, cancel everything that looks like it could possibly be a payment out of that bank account. And actually COVID was the worst I'd ever seen this. You know, a couple of people did panic and they just went, no, not paying anything. Didn't need it. The biggest issue with cutting things, for example, like your marketing, is in most businesses you can have a churn. Whether you're selling a product, whether you're providing a service, you can have people that fail, can't afford you, don't value you, you decide to get rid of them. Like there's all these different potential things that can happen. So you need to continually market and grow and replace, and there's that churn, isn't there, of clients. You know, let's say you're selling a product, they might just eventually have been trying something else for a while, and you know, you're like, okay, I've got to attract some new, we've lost that existing custom, you know. So cutting all your marketing spend and everything like that is going to be a problem for you. It might immediately save you some money for a few months, but where's those new people coming in? We particularly see this in like professional services businesses and things like that. They'll do it, and then because they've got contracts that are existing, and suddenly those contracts or that period, that project comes to an end, there's nothing filling it. You know, they cut down all their networking activity because that costs money to eat those breakfasts every Friday or whatever, you know, all those kind of things. So really consider what is actually essential spend. I'm not saying don't cut anything, because you might look at it and say, well, I'm paying for software subscriptions. But if you've ever gone to your house bills, and you probably have done this because of the cost of living, and tried to cut things back, you realise there's only so much you can do before you can't live anymore. And it's the same in business. You can trim loads of stuff, you just might not have a business, you know. So do look at that and really look at, you might want to negotiate some stuff, you might want to tweak some packages, you might want to do other things to just bring that down if you need it, but don't panic. That's the key takeaway for this, is don't just think, oh my God, doom and gloom, end of the world, because actually you can influence this. It's not like the market's tough, and it's going to be tough, I think, but what people are looking for, I think, is just value for money most of the time. So it's a case of looking at it and say, okay, what can we do? You know, if you've got okay, products can be difficult sometimes to do this with, but you can look at your pricing. I'm not saying cut your pricing. I'm actually probably going to say to the opposite in a moment and say potentially put it up. But, you know, can you position better? Can you do something with your brand? You know, there's a lot of things you can do. So that, because price isn't the key issue, in our experience in business, and there's tons of stuff out there. If you go look, you can talk to pricing experts and they'll tell you this. I mean, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to clients on an iPhone. That iPhone, there's a cheaper phone, right? I don't need an iPhone. I like the brand. I like how it works. I value it, and it's valuable enough for me to want to pay that when I could just have one of these cheap ones, So, and it's the similar thing. So it's not always about price. It's about value a lot of the time. So it's making sure that you might want to go away, repackage your services and everything else so they provide more value for that money. You might want to look at markets that you wouldn't normally touch in non-tough times. You think, actually, maybe we should do a bit of that work to just backfill, and maybe that's quite a good time. You might learn something from it. So there's a lot of things you can influence with these tough times that creates quite a lot of opportunity in a time where there will be lots of other businesses just doing nothing and going backwards and not really, and curling up as a hedgehog and just not doing anything. So don't be one of those. I suppose that's my key message for that. Just and get clarity. So it's going to be easy now. Here's the accountant bit coming out of me. I'm going to say to you, what you should do is make sure you plan. Action's really important. Like, you can't do anything without the action, but I like the clarity. One of the biggest issues we see talking to owners is they just don't know. They're like, I don't know if it's going to be okay. So it's like, well, if you don't know it's going to be okay, or you don't know it's going to be bad, why are we making decisions before that? So what I'd encourage you to do is create like a little mini kind of budget or a cash flow, and I'll link a blog to our website where there's a stupidly simple Excel spreadsheet. If you like your Excel spreadsheets and you're expecting some complicated thing, you're going to be very disappointed because it's absolute basic. I'm a simple kind of guy. I like simple solutions, and it's just going to help you lay out, and pump some figures in there and just see what your bank balance might look after at the end of every month, what you expect over, say, 6, 12, 18 months. If you really want to take it far, 2 years would be quite cool. But, have a look. Do you actually need to change anything? And on pricing, we mentioned pricing. So do that first. See what the situation could look like. You can do a couple of scenarios as well. Once you've got the spreadsheet, you can say, well, what happens if, we lost X contract, or, we didn't sell as much product, and you can build those in and just see. And then when you've done that, you can make some decisions. But I do think you should be looking at your pricing right now. It's likely it's going to have to go up. But obviously, if I said to everybody, go up and chuck all your prices up, I know the governor of the Bank of England, I think it was, that said, look, we shouldn't be doing price rises because you're just adding to inflation, and that's right. But in the small business world, your margins are normally quite small. You can't normally just do nothing. If you're in one of those sectors, you're lucky, your margins are massive, and you do make a lot of money. A, congrats on running an awesome business, and B, brilliant. If you can not change your pricing, even better. But despite, I think, what most of the public would like to believe, most small business owners don't have a lot of money, and the businesses don't make that much money to be able to absorb that without changing the pricing. So have a look at your pricing. And again, you tend to you're looking at pricing, you're looking at value as well. But for me, it all comes back to knowing where you are right now. You want that clarity first of, well, where are we? What can we do? And then that feeling of being proactive action can really help, because you can be like, okay, well, what if we did tweak the prices 5%? How much extra does that bring? And sometimes the magic of numbers could be enough to help you sleep at night and just feel like, okay, cool, it's not all going to end. So if this is you and you're listening to it thinking, why did I ever get into business? Because it's a lonely world out there for a lot of business owners, right? A lot of people don't appreciate how lonely that can be and the pressures around that. It's easy, again, for an accountant to say, but numbers can help. And it sounds really sad, but you'll hear a lot of people, talking about the power of writing things down and things like that. But for me, it's the same with numbers. The power of the clarity around your business is really key. So I suppose the takeaway from this is go out there, get a little bit of a plan, spend some time to just think about what you're doing, and don't get overwhelmed by it. If you come out of there thinking, okay, I do need to rise my prices, I need to change how we're working, I need to change this and that, then start writing it down, get yourself some next logical steps, and just think, okay, what's the next thing I need to do? Don't worry too much about the giant picture, just keep moving it forward. But that's where the action starts to come in, and then you have to move to that next stage of actually doing it. But for now, I just want you to take away, go, look, don't panic, plan, take time, and then go with whatever you decide to do. That's it. If this has been useful to you, please do share it with anybody that needs to know. I'd love to hear how you're getting on in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.